Thanks to Nathaniel Hackett and his horrific clock management and decision-making last night, Russell Wilson inexplicably didn't get a chance to win the ball game for the Denver Broncos. After the completion to Javonte Williams set up 4th and 5. Over a minute remaining, all 3 timeouts, Hackett lets the clock run down to 20 seconds and opts for this. A 64-yard field goal attempt with Brandon McManus? Are you kidding me? Beg it, Nathaniel Hackett. Beg it, loser. How in the world do you trot out, if you're Nathaniel Hackett, Brandon McManus as opposed to Russell Wilson in the Russell Wilson go-home revenge game in Seattle? I mean, this was idiotic. This was moronic. This was asinine. This was offensive to math, to sports, to logic. And so was this. And if you remember on Time to Schein, I said the minute they re-signed Melvin Gordon, it's a mistake. Because Melvin Gordon somehow has this spell over offensive coordinators and head coaches like Hackett where they run him as opposed to Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams should be getting every carry, including this at the goal line. And I know that Williams fumbled the next time they were there. By the way, what the hell was that in terms of 2 consecutive plays inside the 3 where they decided instead of Russ rolling out, they're going to put him in the shotgun? I mean, that was absolutely pathetic. And Wilson was 29 of 42, 340 yards and a touchdown. They outgained Seattle 433 to 253, and they lost the game because Nathaniel Hackett had no idea what he was doing. It's a 4th down with Russell Wilson. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman almost fell out of the booth last night. Peyton Manning on the Manningcast. Timeout. 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 I'm sitting there screaming at the TV. This was the easiest decision ever. Nathaniel Hackett, what on earth are you doing? That was absolutely positively horrendous. Touche, Gino. Touche. I wrote you off, and I'll be the first to admit it. And listen, I stand by what I said about the Seattle quarterback battle being sad and pathetic in August, and I can't believe it was Drew Lock versus Geno Smith. But hey, credit Geno Smith and Seattle for their Week 1 victory against the Denver Broncos, because the good news, league's not going to make you give it back. Geno was accurate. Geno was on fire. Geno spread the ball around brilliantly. Geno protected the ball. And honestly, I'm happy for Geno Smith. And Pete Carroll, he decided that he was going to go with Geno and Drew Lock. I still think it was completely asinine. But give Pete Carroll credit because his team was feisty. His team was fired up. I love the way Rashad Penny ran the ball with authority. Perfect balance for Geno Smith last night. And hey, the Seattle Seahawks are in first place. Look, it's one game. It's not going to last, but this was a very meaningful game for everyone involved. As Pete Carroll said, he had to call that timeout. He couldn't believe that after the timeout that Russell Wilson called, that Hackett, as we mentioned, decided to kick that long field goal, which made absolutely no sense. I mean, he got a first ballot future Hall of Famer, Russell Wilson. But here's the good news. If you're Geno Smith, if you're Pete Carroll, you're in first place after a Week 1. Still going to be a lean year. Still going to be an awful season. But the league's not going to make you give that back. What a night to be Geno Smith. What a time to be alive. Pittsburgh Steelers running back Najee Harris on my SiriusXM radio show telling me exclusively today that he will be on the field for Sunday's Week 2 showdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the New England Patriots. And that is major news. Great news for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially on the heels of the reports last night that Defensive Player of the Year T.J. Watt is not expected to need surgery on his pec injury, and Watts should return in 6 weeks. So Listen, the Week 1 win was wild. The Week 1 win was wacky. I've never seen a game quite like this in terms of the missed kicks, the missed extra points, the missed field goals. I'm thrilled for TJ Watt that he's going to be back. They need Najee Harris back. He'll play Harris, obviously, this Sunday. Watt, if you can get him back in 6 weeks, listen, I think that Mike Tomlin, with the way that this Pittsburgh defense, Minka Fitzpatrick and company flying around, I think that they're going to be able to win some of these ball games. Tomlin, talking to Harris today, he loves the way Tomlin gets everybody ready to go. The offense with Trubisky and George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, they're certainly flying. I mean, look at this schedule here. It's not out of the realm of possibility that the Pittsburgh Steelers can start the season 4-0. And I said that they were going to win 9, not make the playoffs, but I believe they can start the season 4-0. Watt, if he comes back for the teeth and the strength of that schedule, obviously that's everything. I mean, if you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you stole one, obviously, with the bad snap and then Money Mac missing the extra point to win at the end of regulation. And then what happened with Money Mac in overtime, Iron Eagle with the call on CBS. It was absolutely crazy. Look, the Bengals are going to be just fine, and I still think they're going to win the division. Baltimore is obviously back. I'm not going to sit here and go nuts on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I told you that they're going to be better than people anticipate. They're going to win a minimum of 9 games. And I think the Steelers dodged a major bullet with the TJ Watt news, and I think they're going to start the season 2-0 when they smack the New England Patriots coming up Sunday on CBS. Welcome back. That, of course, Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones delivering the news this morning that the team will not place Dak Prescott on IR after he had surgery yesterday to repair the broken thumb he suffered on Sunday in the loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with that as a backdrop, I have a lot to get off my chest because you can spin it any way you want. The Cowboys season is over. Dak Prescott missing time and having a thumb injury is a killer. I mean, Cooper Rush? I'm not going to be in a rush to pick the Dallas Cowboys to win another game. And I didn't like the Cowboys before the season. Remember my take last week? I said Dallas is not a top 8 team. So I know Jerry's trying to spin the positive here, but Mike McCarthy is going to be losing a lot of ball games this year. And let's be honest, even when Dak Prescott was in the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dak was awful. The line was awful. CeeDee Lamb, who I love, was awful. The rest of the receivers, they were completely invisible and awful. So I didn't like the Cowboys going in. And I don't think it's exaggeration or hyperbole to say the season's over. And I know everyone's saying, oh, it's great. Could be back in 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It's still a quarterback with the thumb. I mean, remember Drew Brees a few years ago? Color me skeptical here. I'm not a doctor. Occasionally I play one on television. Color me skeptical in this optimistic time frame. The Dallas Cowboys finished for 2022. Thanks for playing. On to the San Francisco 49ers. I need to get this off my chest. Trey Lance could not dance Sunday against the Chicago Bears. If they only had another quarterback on the sidelines who could have helped clean up the mess. Oh, wait, they do. They have Jimmy G. And you look at Trey Lance and how he performed first half, second half. I mean, listen, Trey Lance was dreadful. And I know it's the pouring rain, and I know there's no George Kittle. When are people going to stop making excuses for Trey Lance? I want Trey Lance to be great. But remember, Kyle picked him over Mac Jones. You know, he could have beat out Jimmy G last year. And we have to ask these questions when Jimmy's on the roster. There's a reason why Kyle banned Jimmy from training camp and then brought him back. I mean, of course I'd play Jimmy Garoppolo. I would have played him last week at halftime. After the first half, you see those numbers when Trey Lance is dreadful. Go to the bullpen. The 49ers, their upside is Super Bowl. 2 through 53, they have arguably the best roster in the NFL, and certainly you could easily make the case the best roster in the NFC. You can't lose to inferior teams like the Chicago Bears, arguably the worst team in the league. Who do they have this week? Seattle. There's no excuse. If Trey Lance, who was dreadful in August, dreadful during preseason and practice and training camp and minicamp, if Trey Lance isn't ready, at some point the emphasis should be on winning. Winning games and making a playoff run to the Super Bowl. What a concept. That needs to be the thought process here for Kyle Shanahan. Let me get this off my chest as well. Good luck with your receipts, Robert Saleh. I mean, how's this for a money quote after an embarrassing Week 1 loss to the Baltimore Ravens? Saleh telling the media yesterday he's saving the receipts from those who doubt the Jets this season. I mean, you know, big enough folder here, Rob. I mean, I told you last week that playing Joe Flacco, that's where hope goes to die. He is a statue who's been defunct since Baltimore traded him to Denver right after Lamar Jackson's rookie season. That was between 2018 and 2019. Robert Saleh, I mean, you sound defensive. You sound clueless. Are you trying to rally your team? I mean, if that's what you need to call out the media, I mean, come on. I mean, the Ravens absolutely punked you. You know, the offense for Baltimore exposed the defense. The Ravens defense exposed Joe Flacco. I mean, I would play Mike White. We talked about that last week. I wouldn't have Joe Flacco on the roster. I mean, the New York Jets, who had a great offseason, were dead on arrival this past week because they're starting Joe Flacco at quarterback. So, you want receipts? I said 0-7, Robert Saleh. 0-7 the day the schedule came out. And you are a big part of the problem. One more thing from last night's game I got to get off my chest. Shame on you, Seattle Seahawks fans. How dare you boo Russell Wilson last night? I mean, and we talked about this last week. That's shameful. Seriously. Russell Wilson is a first ballot Hall of Famer who gave you 10 years of brilliance, best quarterback in franchise history, and a top 4 player in franchise history. I mean, look at the numbers, look at the rankings, won a Super Bowl, was in another and should have won it. This is what you call a mini dynasty. Credit Pete Carroll, credit John Schneider, the Legion of Boom, Bobby Wagner, and Russell Wilson. You want to boo him and root for the laundry, as Jerry Seinfeld once famously said? That's great during the game. Pre-game? I mean, that was over the top. That was wrong. That was disrespectful. The Seattle fan is too smart for that. That bothered me. That was sad, pathetic, and embarrassing. On to the Green Bay Packers. Let me get this off my chest. As the great Aaron Rodgers once said, RELAX. Green Bay is going to be just fine this season. Look, what happened against Minnesota was a mess. And listen, this is a beautiful throw. Christian Watson, are you kidding me? He catches that pass. I mean, we have a totally different ball game. It's a totally different feel. Look, Rodgers wasn't very good. The offensive line wasn't very good. Watson wasn't very good. The defense, to me, was the big issue. Why Jair Alexander didn't shadow Justin Jefferson, I'll never know. Minnesota is an excellent team. Everyone calm down, though. The Packers are still going to win the division. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to be just fine.